Hello and welcome to the what we were talking about the nothing. It's lockdown beers and rugby chat. Yes, hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help you through a lockdown. Folks, yes, it's all getting a bit close to me. The next town over has had its first case, so we'll see if we are going to up levels or not, and that'll impact what games I may or may not be able to get to next weekend because. As you may or may not know, both Waikato and Northland have relocated to Tauranga, and it looks like Rotorua might be where they might play their games next week. The Friday night game makes sense with Northland because it's got floodlights, whereas Tauranga Domain doesn't. But the Saturday one could be either, but if they're already at Rotorua, we'll be surprised the other one was there as well. 60 seconds then until 5 o'clock, and that's when we can crack open the beer. I'm on the old Export Gold again, so there we go. That's my beer of choice for today. Look, I hope you've had a good one. The weather's been quite nice, hasn't it? And cracking open one and winding down at the end of the day. Obviously, being a Sunday, there's no work, but there has been a whole bunch of rugby, though. What are we going to talk about? Well, there's some Rugby World Cup qualifying going on over in the Americas, so I'll have a chat about that. There's also, we had some Farah Palmer Cup finals yesterday, as well as some Bunnings NPC games. And also, it's come out about Fakatava may not be eligible to play for the All Blacks, which would be an interesting one in that from that point of view. So we'll also have a chat about that one. Kind of intriguing, that one. It's not one that I saw coming, but hey, we'll explain that all to you. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. The beer is open and getting it into the glass. Yes. Someone's saying, what is this? What's the whole point of pouring like this? The point of pouring it like this and leaving a big head, leaving the gas in the glass means that the gas doesn't go in your stomach and you don't burp so much, basically. Simple as that. Hope you're all having a, as I say, having a wonderful weekend as we come towards the end of it. So first up, the Rugby World Cup qualifying. I mean, congratulations to Uruguay, who have claimed the Americas one spot. It's been a double-headed game with the USA. They lost the first one 19-16 and then won the return game 34-15 there. So both sides winning their home games, meaning that Uruguay went through 50-34 over the two games. The USA will now face Chile for the Americas 2 spot after Chile beats Canada. They lost the first game 22-21, but then won 33-24 at home, winning 54-46 on aggregate. So congratulations to Chile. USA and Chile will play off in July next year. The winner of that, I say, becomes the, what do you call it? I've gone blank now. It becomes America's 2. Oops, and I'm having some problems here with my screens, folks, because I've got a guest to join me. I can't see who it is, so I need to move some windows around. There we go. It's Con. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you.
Hope you're keeping
well.
You're back home now, I see.
Anyone on here? Sorry, mate. Excuse me. What was that?
I see you're back home from your from your little break.
That's right. Week in Queenstown. It was pretty good. Had a good time. So, but cool. Back.
Cool to see. Just running through the Rugby World Cup qualifying. As I say, Chile through now to face the USA in that for America's 2. The loser of that will go off into the repechage, where one of 4 teams will go through, which is what Canada had to do last time. Canada, amazingly enough, were quarter-finalists back in 1991 Rugby World Cup. Had a high of 11th in the world rankings, but now down in 21st, and have been to every single World Cup so far. Only Japan are the only other tier 2 one. So, yeah, I think massive missed opportunity by World Rugby with Canada. And if you think about expanding rugby, you've got a tier 2 nation that's made it to the quarterfinals. You think you'd invest in it and grow it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be interesting to know what I actually don't know enough. It's probably an interesting topic to do a bit of research on what has happened with Canada as far as local support, the grassroots, and what's happened there as far as popularity. Has it diminished with sort of American influence and that kind of thing of their sports, or is it just You know,
it's
was it just that rugby wasn't as good in the
it's
the
messing up at the
80s?
boardroom level. The boardroom and coaching has been a disaster, really. A whole bunch of the women, for example, signed a letter about not being treated properly by the coaches, and that seemed to get sort of mixed feeling or mixed kind of review by the board. And yeah, the board has just been an absolute disaster, wasting money, not getting good coaching in, not running good high performance programs. As far as grassroots goes, it's still a very popular sport. They've got the Toronto Arrows in Major League Rugby, so there is some hope, but because they are going to be missing out on probably World Cup funding from this, there is a question mark as to, will we just see Canada go backwards from there? But anyway, a topic actually that be closer to your heart, you'll know a bit more about, but Fakatava. Now, he is a 21-year-old, which means that a World Cup eligibility residency rules means that he's now done 3 years in New Zealand, because his time before that as a schoolboy was not considered permanent residency. It's considered away from home. In short trips, doesn't count.
Yep.
You may have heard a while back that World Rugby was extending the residency to 5 years, not 3. That got postponed by 12 months. So if Fakatava plays in the next, where are we now? Basically, if Fakatava plays before the end of the year, he's eligible to play for the All Blacks up until the end of the year. Next year, he's not eligible to play for them, but he will be eligible to play for them again in 2023.
So that would require him to be sort of snatched in there in one of those land grab cap sort of appointments. Is that right?
The slight problem is that he's injured.
Okay. We might have play for some crutches, you know. If I recall, there was another time when there was a little bit of a land grab, sort of around the time when we played against Japan. It must have been 2018, and there was a few players that were put up against them, and it was considered that a few of them were kind of, I'm not sure if there's a better term for it. I'm using land grab, just kind of putting a flag down and everything. I don't recall who it was. But it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to do it. But if he gets some magical, I guess, medical treatment and can potentially be eligible. I know that was he's Saginahola Fijian, so I'm not, that's different. I believe he's Fijian, isn't he? Whereas
so exactly those Fijian. Whereas but I'm saying just go to the same doctor. I'm not saying it's sorry. So LB, I'll come back and talk about Uruguay beating USA because Con can't join us is here for very long, and that's not an area he's an expert on. So, but I'll go back to that again. But so it's this funny situation where World Rugby moved back the change from 3 to 5 years because of COVID by 12 months for compassionate grounds, which to me sounds like tier 1 nations throwing their toys out the pram going, we want to have players, there's players we can't have. Rather than really compassionate grounds, as they set the rules 4 years earlier and everyone knew what they were. So that's, so it's Simon makes a good point. Look, the rules about you have to be over 18 for residency to start kicking in has always been there. That's true. The difference is it grows from 3 to 5 years, and because it's 3 years until the end of this year, and then it's 5 years after that. And Fakatava is at 3 years, so next year he'll be at 4 years. So hence he becomes uneligible unless he's played. So a funny situation really for
to be on a plane playing against who's our final game is France, isn't it? I was thinking that there's an Italian game in there somewhere late.
Yeah, the Italy game before that. What they're saying on stuff is that New Zealand Rugby and the New Zealand Rugby Players Association are appealing to World Rugby for dispensation on this one. But we'll see how that one goes. LB said it should be 10 years to play for the nation. LB, I think that might be because you support South Africa, and South Africa, basically, apart from the odd Zimbabwe and Namibian player,
Namibian.
Doesn't really have players from overseas because they don't have a rich league at the end of the day, which, let's be honest, Japan does, France does, England does, and countries like Ireland and Scotland do occasionally do players as well. But for this one, and again, look, how much are you going to get paid to come and play in New Zealand as an All Black, or how much are you going to lose when you play for Tonga because they don't pay for your flights, or they don't reimburse you for your flights and don't and then steal the kit before you're allowed to the training kit before you actually because I think it's something that happened out of Fiji. But anyway, the corruption in those islands means that unfortunately the players don't get paid anywhere near the same amount as an All Black would.
That's right.
But I just thought that was an interesting one. Have you?
Absolutely.
That's cropped up, and we'll see, because he is arguably the second choice All Blacks scrum half, the way that TJ's been playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. He's excellent, and it's great to have that depth in that position. He's kind of come out of nowhere for me, to be honest. So are you saying he's pipping Brad Weber?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we've got to see how he copes with the extra pace at work. I mean, he may not be able to transform his Super Rugby form to the international level. Let's be honest. I was perhaps being a little bit facetious, but
yeah, I know.
but we'll see on that one. And he's something that we've been aware of because Stephen Harris and I have got some contacts with have had chats with the head coaches and the assistant coaches down at Hawke's Bay. And they've sort of talked about, he was part of this cohort of 5 players who all came out of Nelson College together and got promoted into the NPC. The NPC squad then had a bunch of injuries, and all 5 of them were suddenly starting, which wasn't quite the plan, but it's kind of worked out for them with players like McClutchy. I've gone blank. There's number 8, and then there's So they basically had 8, 9, 10, and 12 were all basically we're all boys straight out of high school playing at NPC level, which was a bit nuts. But hey, as I say, it's got them around fairly shielded, and it's working so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you catch any of the games this morning, or elements of them? I've caught all sorts of different bits.
Yeah, because we also had on Friday night, we had the drawn game and the extra point, golden extra time between Wellington and Canterbury.
That was great.
I don't know where Wellington got that result from, though.
It was a good game. It was a good match, and it was and so golden point. It's great when it's a try. The rare occasions that they happen. Teams going to actually play for it, and the try was a great one too. So good on them.
It was a good one. Yes, you're right. And actually, Australia has changed their golden point or their extra time in Super Rugby to be golden try.
Super Rugby makes sense. If you saw that the first golden point, that I recall in Super Rugby. Was like Rebels versus I don't know the Waratahs, and it was just terrible because it was forwards and backs. I'm not sure if you played that at school, Paul, but it was just kicking from 122 to the other 22 just because you couldn't afford to not have territory for a drop goal or a penalty. And it was actually it was really exciting. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, we're getting the first golden point!" And then after 5 minutes, like, "Oh shit." Of course, this is what was going to happen. It's a bit different to league. Now, I haven't seen it to that degree since, but golden try does make it more exciting.
Absolutely. I think it's the right way to go, to be honest. You say, luckily, in New Zealand, when we've had golden points, it has been more positive. There's been more positive play than that, rather than that, as you say, playing kickback, essentially, which is what we were seeing in Australia for that first one. So we had that one. We then had which one next up? Sorry, Southland Manawatu. I've talked about that. That was today. That wasn't the next one. I'm searching around all my different bits of notes. So I was on SENZ today at 1:45, where we rounded up all of the NPC Farah Palmer Cup action and also previewed the Southland Manawatu game. So I've had to scribble down notes all over the place. So yes, we had Otago Taranaki. Unsurprisingly, Taranaki winning that one, but it was closer than I thought that was going to be. There, 23 all with 10 minutes to go, but the Naki coming through. The Ranfurly Shield Challenge, Hawke's Bay dominating. Tasman, really. Did you see that one coming?
I saw the second half, and it was excellent. And I, Hawke's Bay are doing really well this year, obviously, but I still would have picked Tasman just based on history and everything like that. So it was pretty cool. It was impressive. They played really well.
Yeah, they did. 5 tries to 1. They totally deserved to keep the shield. So yeah, cracking game played by Hawke's Bay in that one. And then today, Southland versus Manawatu, which I've lost my notes, but I know Southland won it. In that one. But I can't remember what the score was.
Hold on, no, did they?
Didn't they? Oh, no, you're quite right. Southland went out and started well. Manawatu then came back and snatched it at the end, I think.
Yeah, I actually didn't catch it. I was just following scores on Tribe. But it was 11-point win to Manawatu.
Yes, did not quite snatching it. It was a bit more comfortable that. But yeah, but I say Southland really went out first. So yeah, I managed to get a bet on both teams at over $2, and hence I couldn't lose when it came to the end during real play. So I did. That was my that's been my goal this weekend. I did the same thing during the Wellington Canterbury game. I got a bet on both teams at over $2, and I very nearly got it for the Ranfurly Shield game, but I got greedy and didn't take Hawke's Bay at $2.05. If I had done, I would have been good, but no, I didn't. I missed that opportunity, and there you go. And so lost money on that.
For listeners, we're not talking him putting a couple of bucks on. When he does that, he puts like 50 grand on the bet. So it's impressive amount of return he's getting. Because if it was a couple of bucks, you wouldn't be, the return of a couple of cents wouldn't be. But he's getting some pretty good returns.
What absolute BS! So, folks, I'm going to pull up one of the slips so you can see how he's that I literally put on $1 in these bets. He knows this because he's seen a screenshot on our rugby chat group. But as he's going to be, as he's gone down this route, there we go. There's my my bets that I had on for Southland versus Manawatu.
Dollar stake. Isn't that dollar stake in multiples of 5,000 or something? No. Okay.
No. $1 stake. Yes, I won 30 cents on that one because I had obviously a dollar on each. So $2 bet, $2.30 back. So yes, so there we go. And a man who had a little bit more money on these sort of games was Stephen Harris, though. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Paul. Con, great to be on the show. I must admit, I've got one eye on the boxing, and just to update everybody, we've just seen the completion of round 5 in the heavyweight contest of the world between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Of course, this is the trilogy of the fights, the third fight going on, and both fighters have actually been on the canvas. So yeah, crazy fight. So, am I not making
trilogy? Which is some sort of Star Wars movie or MCU? Is this Iron Man 3 or something? Come on, this is trilogy. What a joke!
Well, it's fight number 3. Fight number 3, put it that way. Yeah, pretty amazing. Remember, the first fight was a draw. The second fight, of course, Fury picked up the title, and boy, this one, I've got to say, after 5 rounds, Deontay Wilder having put Tyson Fury down twice, but hey,
he's gone down once. Did you say?
Yeah, he's gone down. He's gone down a couple of times. Of course, Wilder went down in the first round. So, yeah, it's a great fight. So I've got one eye on that. But, of course, the subject at hand, yeah, saw a lot of the NPC the weekend. Paul, heard you on Sens Radio before. And, yeah, I think you pretty much wrapped everything up. I think it's just been a great round of really close competitive rugby. But the one game that stands out, definitely that Tasman Hawke's Bay game, the quality of that game, Con, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, was just on another level.
It was great. It was excellent. I only caught the second half. After you guys were chatting so much about it, I stopped what I was doing, whatever that was, and tuned in. So it was, but it was good. It was worth it. So yeah, and good on you for getting the boxing. Do you watch quite a bit of boxing, Stephen?
I do actually. I watched an interesting documentary about John Fury, who's obviously the father of these Fury boys, and yeah, they've got great backgrounds, obviously from their gypsy background and tough upbringing. But a lot of people would think that Tyson Fury is a bit loopy, but there's a method to the madness. He is gypsy, as Paul will appreciate the gypsy community in Britain.
Well, okay, before we get pulled up for inappropriate use of terminology, you mean the traveller community?
Traveller,
yeah, right.
traveller community. Beg your pardon, and yeah, I do apologise to anybody who is offended out there. So yeah, I just yeah, they're into round 6 at the moment, and still going strong.
Well, sorry, I can't support a homophobic and other stuff other comments he's made, as you say. He's a bit out there. But anyway, but Timo Ki Tavatava Navai is as Stephen put it, spelt it out for me so I could say it on SEN and then didn't. Had a cracking game in that game, and yeah, he's it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Is he? Because I don't think he's got a contract at the Crusaders. He was wider training squad with the Crusaders, wasn't he? So will he go? Will he do there, or will he end up at Fiji and Drua? It's interesting to see where he goes.
Listen, I think in a month where we've sort of highlighted how important it is to take your high kicks, especially a couple of certain internationals we've seen, his athleticism and his technique were just superb. But there were a couple there where he took AFL style over the head, and I thought, man, this guy's should be sponsored by Velcro, because he was holding on to those high kicks especially well. Now, I do believe he was part of also the Highlanders last year, so I just do wonder though if the Crusaders, obviously they've just signed in recent times Kini Naholo, is that correct? Maybe there's not enough room in his roster, so I would probably say the other 4 franchises will be clamouring over their own feet to get a hold of Timosi Tavatava Nawai. Just an amazing talent.
So I think we're looking at, well, let's hope he goes to the Fiji and Drua as the with that one, especially after our Fakatava eligibility chat that we had earlier as well on that one. To round off kind of provincial rugby here in New Zealand, we should have a chat about the Farah Palmer Cup, folks. So in this one, we had Manawatu taking on who do they take on? Hawke's Bay, winning that one 55-12. Cracking result by Manawatu on that one. Really did kind of back up their season form and totally deserved the promotion that is coming their way. I unfortunately missed this one. I was kind of busy at the time getting my second jab, as you can see there from my photo. Pity my daughter doesn't realise I've got a head that needs to be in the photo shot there. So she decided to chop my head off.
She wanted to get the gear stick in there, Paul, which is more important apparently.
Oh, absolutely. I'll just have just quick checks of what you're trying to refer to there. But yes, you can see the gear stick in there of my. So unfortunately, I didn't actually see this game because I was busy at the time. But cracking game by Manawatu from all reports on that one. So well done to them. Thoroughly deserved their promotion. And then a cracking final between Canterbury and Waikato. Canterbury going out to a 13-3 lead at half time with the wind at their backs. But the wind was worth more than that. And Waikato showed that in the second half, Stephen.
Yeah, I listen, full credit to whoever was setting the odds at the TAB, Paul, because I thought with that gale behind them, and I just saw enough of the first half to see that if they could hold onto the ball for long periods and use their their slightly more sizable pack and they're very big ball runners, and more than anything else, just play decent field position. I actually thought, jeepers, 10 points wasn't enough, and so it proved at the end of the day. A little bit closer right at the end of the game. It closed right up, but to be honest, that happened after the hooter, and I think that scoreline probably flattered Canterbury at the end of the day, Paul. So I must admit it was a good one for me. $6 at the time. I thought to myself, well, floating 20, and I'm in the money, and that's how it prevailed at the end of the day. Probably more than anything else, a few interesting decisions. I think if Waikato look back at this game, they probably should have put it to bed way more easier than what they should have. But on saying that, that's credit to the tenaciousness of the Canterbury team. Their defence was pretty amazing at times. Just getting bodies under players and what have you. Of course, there was a train of thought as well. Maybe a couple more cards should have been dished out, Paul.
Yeah, look, I was obvious. I watched this one silently. I've got my girls in this weekend, so we were watching Captain Marvel on one screen, and I had another screen with the game on, but with the sound off. So the cards bit I didn't notice. But you've got to say that, yeah, you say it was flattering because look, with the hooter pretty much gone, it was 13-22 to Waikato, and a try basically at the end of a consolation try at the end there. Made it look close, made it look like a 2-point game, but it was actually a 2-score game before that. And Waikato saw themselves home pretty comfortably in that one.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So great play by them.
Yeah, Paul, and listen, always tough. I think that was Tiana Ngawati's first final that she's actually she's refereed. She's been around the circuit for a few years, so it's a good reward for sort of consistency of performance. Like I say, maybe she could have handed out some yellow cards, but Waikato had a lot of chances. Even at one stage, I think they might have been Canterbury might have been down to 13 players. And listen, for them, it's revenge for last year's very much last minute loss. And despite those Black Ferns players not being available, it didn't detract from what was a very good final. But as you've said before, Paul, maybe some lessons there for New Zealand rugby.
Well, that's what I was saying. But congratulations, Victoria Edmonds. This was her 50th cap playing for Waikato. Now, look, these girls play a lot less games in the Farah Palmer Cup than they do in the NPC. So to get to 50 caps is impressive. So well done to her with that one. Yes, 9 players missing to Black Ferns duty on a training camp. They're still in the country for Waikato, 6 for Canterbury. And you've got to say, this is the showcase of the women's domestic game. And New Zealand Rugby rip out 15 players. Jeez, come on, guys. Not only do they do that, but they also then schedule Sam Cane, the All Blacks captain, to play his first ever Heartland Championship game for for any team actually, but he played for King's Country at the same time. If you're trying to grow the game, those two moves are not good media moves. So disappointed by New Zealand Rugby. You can do better. We know you can. So please do so. On that one, a few other things we need to cover off though before we as we're running out of time on this one. LB mentions point maybe Islanders should get paid directly from World Rugby. Now, one of the rules around World Rugby funding to Tier 2 nations is it's not allowed to be used to pay for players. So all player payments have to come from other sorts of income and not from World Rugby. The only exception to this that I've heard of is the Fiji and Drua when they're part of the NRC. Otherwise, World Rugby funding hasn't been allowed to be used on players. So quite how that works with the World Rugby funding that they're giving to the Super Rugby franchises of Moana Pacifica and Fiji and Drua, I don't know. But at international level, it can't be used for that. So it's used for the coaches, high performance, strength and conditioning coaching, all that kind of stuff, and for training bases and all the other sort of stuff you can think of. But the one thing it's not allowed to be used for is player wages. So that is kind of what it is. LB, South Africa team's actually doing decent this weekend, the URC. Absolutely. And a weekend where I didn't put money on them all to lose, thankfully, like I did last one, because they did have a poor one. No, I in all honesty, I thought they would do better, which is why I didn't put money on them to lose. But this weekend, previous weekend, I did put a multi on all 4 teams to lose, and they did. This weekend, we saw the Sharks beat the Ospreys 27-13. All these games are away from home, remember. The Lions lost to Glasgow 13-9. That's still a losing bonus point. Edinburgh versus the Stormers was 20-all, so draw. And then the Bulls beat Cardiff 29-19. So 2 wins, a draw and a loss from those 4 games is cracking after the first 2 weeks. 8 games, 1 loss, 1 win, 7 losses. So, yeah.
And Paul, I was going to say a little bit of controversy thrown in there as well. The Lions Glasgow game, a try awarded to I think it was Glasgow, which on replay you look at it again, and the player does look like he was short of the line. On saying that, if it was short of the line, the Lions player actually jumped on the player on the ground, which you could arguably also say that's a cynical try, and it might have been a penalty try. So maybe one of those ones that could have gone either way. We get the luxury of video replay. They don't get that. I think one game we may have picked that could have been a close one and could have gone the way was the Bulls victory over Cardiff. I think it was, and that was a pretty amazing performance where they came back with about 20 odd unanswered points in the second half. I think it was Paul to take out that game, and it's they are definitely a lot. It's great. I think it's going to just take them time to find their feet. But even though these are away games, at least it gives these opportunities for these teams to, while they're together, to bond, Paul.
Yeah, true. And I say, but a big turnaround from the first 2 weeks. So look, they're heading in the right direction. Next week they've got the Lions go to Ulster. That'll be a tough one for them. The Stormers will go to the Dragons, and that's very much a winnable game. You've got the Bulls at Edinburgh. We've just seen the Stormers draw with Edinburgh, and the Bulls are better than the Stormers. So again, another winnable game. And finally, the Sharks versus Cardiff. Well, the Bulls have already shown the Sharks how to do it. So I would say, look, 3 games there that all could be won on the road by the South African team. So definitely heading in the right direction. I will not be putting a multi on them all to lose because that is not a good bet. But last week they were playing against Munster and Leinster. Very different propositions to who they're playing these coming weekends. So that's heading in the right direction, which is great to see. Something we mentioned at the top of the show, but we'll quickly cover it again because I think some of you might have missed it who are watching the show live. Don't forget, actually, you can watch the recording on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and also as a podcast, folks, if you missed it. But very quickly, Uruguay beat the USA to qualify as America's one. Well done there, 50-34 over the 2 games, aggregate score. The USA now will be playing against Chile. Chile beating Canada 54-46. So now Chile versus the USA will play off to see who's America's 2. That'll be in July next year. The loser of that game goes to the repechage. The big news, though, Stephen, 2 Tier 2 teams have been to every single World Cup so far, being Japan and Canada. With Canada losing to Chile, that run ends now. And Japan will be the only Tier 2 team to have appeared at every single Rugby World Cup. Fiji haven't done it. Samoa haven't done it. Tonga haven't done it. So, look, it's a sad day for Canadian rugby, I think.
Yeah, they're a country that if we think back to 1991, that was in their second World Cup. They were actually a quarter finalist against the All Blacks, and they played pretty well that day. I think went down by 28 points to 14 off the top of my head on a very, very wet day, but put up quite a.
I've got a clue. That's to remember that score that far back.
Put up. I don't know. It's funny. You remember minnows. You kind of remember their really good performances they put in. In the same way we'll always remember Japan's performance against South Africa in Brighton. Sorry, I'll be to mention that. But you want these countries to succeed, these tier 2 countries, and I'm not too sure something in their development. It's probably not the stars haven't aligned, if you know what I mean. So disappointing day for Canadian rugby because they do produce some very, very good rugby players. I think Tyler Ardron, in recent times comes to mind as a very good Canadian rugby player, Paul. So they're going to be hurting over there.
They are definitely. So just to bring up the actual score, 13-29 was the score that day. The Simon Hughes says, is Japan a tier 2 nation? Absolutely, it is. Tier 1 nations are those that are in the Six Nations and Rugby Championship. Japan is not in the Rugby Championship, therefore it's a Tier 2 nation. So that's kind of how that definition kind of works. And one that I don't know if you've seen, Stephen. Have you seen the issue that Fakatava has about playing for the All Blacks?
No, not at all. I know he's injured, but he's having second thoughts about playing for the All Blacks?
No, not as far as we know. And having signed his extension deal with New Zealand Rugby up to 2023, you'd think that's all locked in. The problem is that World Rugby regulations say that currently you have to have played after being resident 3 years in a country after the age of 18 to be unless your parents live in that country to qualify on residency grounds. Now, so he has been here for 3 years, being 21. But at the you might remember that World Rugby was changing the regulation to be 5 years, not 3 years. And that 5 years comes into effect at the end of this year. So next year he will be resident for 4 years, but he'll have to have been 5 years to be allowed to play for the All Blacks. So he's eligible to play for the All Blacks this year, but not next year, and he will be again in 2023. So,
listen, if those are the rules, then so be it. As far as I'm concerned, Paul, I mean, it's every other country has to live with that same set of rules. Is this basically designed to stop players who have played for a country and then want to jump ship? Is that what's designed to be?
You can't do that at all anyway. But it's just to make it a bit longer. So if you do want to it's just make it longer than 1 year, than a one Rugby World Cup cycle is the idea. Yeah. So yes, now it's 5 years residency to prove that you are part of that country. And so hence, and look, it was supposed to come into effect at the beginning of this year, but got put back by 12 months because of COVID on compassionate grounds, apparently, which seems a bit strange to me. I'm not quite sure what the issue really was, but hey, there you go. So folks, that's what is going on there with that one. Probably talk a bit more about that on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. with Drive More Show as well. So do join us for that. I'll be back here at 5 p.m. tomorrow with the Lockdown Beers and Rugby Chat as well. Hope you've all had a wonderful and safe weekend. Stay safe, folks. Stay safe, folks. Up in the 09, getting to feel some of your stress with a COVID case in the town over from me, which shows it's got a lot closer to home. I was hoping to make it to 2 games next weekend, which is as both Northland and Waikato have relocated to Tauranga. There is a possibility of them playing their games in Rotorua on Friday night and Saturday afternoon. I was hoping to get to those games, but we'll see what the lockdown situation is over the next few days. So as Stephen, as you kind of joked in our live chat, I may get to more Northland games this year than you might.
you do, and I suppose the Northland team will have a wary eye on the one confirmed case down in the Bay of Plenty at the moment, so they might have to do a run out of the Bay of Plenty if things don't improve in that area. Hopefully not, but hopefully I really can't see Northland going out of level 3 lockdown, so I suspect you will be going to watch Northland play Otago somewhere in the Bay of Plenty this Friday night. Well,
as you say, if maybe there are 3 coaches sat in Tauranga with their engines running, ready to extract Bay of Plenty, Waikato, and Northland down to either Palmerston North or down to Hawke's Bay. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. I expect those contingency plans are being put in place, though, by New Zealand Rugby. As let's be honest, the Delta variant is slowly making its way across the country. So stay safe, folks. Follow all the rules, guidelines, please. Please do wear a mask. Please do get vaccinated. As we've shown earlier, I've had my second vaccination, so please all do follow those. And let us get back to normal as soon as possible. Thank you, Stephen. And thank everyone who's joined us in the live chat.
Yep, no problems, Paul.